film of The Dark Knight Returns. It's titled The Dark Knight Returns, an epic fan film, and he made it in St. Louis, which was like amazing. Because I kind of recognize all the places, and like, oh, that's right. I know that place, and I know where that place is. He directed a film. I think I talked about it before on the podcast. It's called, what's the film? It's a beautiful It's a beautiful film. His name is Wyatt Reed, and I always wanted to meet Wyatt Reed because I think he's such a brilliant writer and director and stuff, and he's one of those guys that I feel like a lot of we should make a Batman film. I would love to make like a tribute to the 60s Batman film. Wyatt Weed is his name. Sorry, Wyatt Weed, not Reed. He was in, shows like, he was in Predator, one of the Predator films. He was in, he did Mission Impossible 2 as a visual effects artist, and he was in Fortress, and he was in a lot of he was in Predator 2 as a Boar Predator. He was in Star Trek Next Generation. He did this, he directed this film called Four Color Eulogy. Four Color Eulogy is a beautifully made film. It's about a comic book writer and his girlfriend, who's an artist, returned to his home in St. Louis and moves in with his mom, who is ill with cancer, and he connects with his old buddy who the mom sort of adopted, and her friend, and they find out that he was a comic book writer and artist. He did this comic book that he was a big fan of, and he finds out that guy who's a writer and artist is his biological father. And it's like it's like a Cameron Crowe comic book writer artist type film. It's very Cameron Crowe. And I just watched this film. It was like the most amazing film I have ever seen. It's actually one of my favorite non-comic book film, even though it has comic book references and stuff in it, but it's like one of my favorite ones. It's an amazing film. I highly recommend it. I think it's amazing film. It's a very great film. It's one of those films that's very relaxing to sit through, and you just were like, this is a great film. So, I give it a thumbs up. I think it's an amazing film. Four Color Eulogy. Just check it out. It's an amazing film. It's very homegrown type film. I hear thunder coming in. We're gonna get a storm. We're gonna get a storm today, so it wasn't like that one crazy storm that happened and when we were recording the show and stuff. So I highly recommend this film. It's amazing. It's a fantastic film, and I know that Wyatt Weed is like working on the next Batman project. I know he talked about it. It was like really weird. He talked about it, and I'm happy it's taken him a while to make it, because usually you don't want to rush into like making something and it doesn't turn out the way you want it to. And I for one just think it's great that he's doing another Batman project. I know they did a Superman one, which was really interesting. I I forget where. I forget the title of it. They did a Superman film. I think they filmed it like near my area where I live, and it was supposed to be like a tribute to the Flash or Superman cartoon. They couldn't get me into it because they couldn't afford me. Because I remember like they were like doing the film around the countryside of the Show Me State, and if they ever approached me, I'd be like, "You got someone playing Batman?" They're like, "Batman's not in this." And I'm like, "I'm not interested." So it's interesting how they did a Superman project, and it's really cool. Like I remember they showed the suit. It was like the classic light blue suit with a red Superman symbol, red and black Superman symbol, and it was really interesting. Like it was supposed to be about Superman taking on, Superman saving Lois, who's gone over to do reporting on the war and stuff, and it involves the Nazis, and you're like, oh, it's one of those type of films. You're just like, I forget who was in it. I remember it was this YouTuber. I forget his name. I forget his name. It's kind of weird, though. I watched a lot of his YouTube videos, and I totally forgot about this. I forgot his name. Shit. Hold on. Here it is. I now remember his name. Yeah, he did the Superman film. He was like the photographer for it. It's kind of funny though. You remember someone's name, and it's just like one day you don't remember them. Yeah, he did like this crazy. I'll look it up and I'll post a photo of it so everyone knows the name of it. He did this Superman. He was in the Superman film. It was just basically that. It was like Superman taking on the Nazis, which they did in the Flash or Superman cartoon. And I remember like watching the trailer of it, and it was amazing where they filmed it. It wasn't like Shiloh, which that is an interesting story. They filmed a Shiloh film where I lived, and it was like, wow. So back in the day, I don't know how it went from like talking about Disney, Marvel to like talking about films being made in the Show Me State. Back in 2006, they made this film called Saving Shiloh. And it was like a big deal. It was a big deal where I lived in this small town. Big deal. Because it's a fucking Shiloh film. And I never was a big Shiloh fan. I mean, I liked the books, but I never really cared about the films. Because they were kind of corny and cheesy and stuff. And they made this film called Saving Shiloh. And it starred wow, they only made 3 films. I guess once they made the 3rd one and the Show Me State, they're like, we're done. So the film is about Marty, who explains the events of Shiloh and Shiloh 2, Shiloh season. They really couldn't come up with a subtitle for the second one, so then it explained. Then Jude Trevor shows up to the Preston home with dead squirrels. Yeah, like, when you imagine like someone shows up with dead squirrels, like, can you explain this? I don't know how to explain it. They're dead. With dead squirrels as a present for Marty and his family for helping him after his truck accident in the second films. When you imagine someone shows up, they're like, I want to thank you for something, but here's some dead squirrels. That'd be like something right out of Deliverance. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that. It's like Deliverance. Classic film. Fearful Shiloh runs into the kitchen since he was scared of Jude. Marty's sister Becky embraces her mom, Lou, when she calls Jude the meanest man since Jude said that he has eaten dead squirrels all his life. This is just stupid. There's nothing wrong eating dead squirrels. I don't know, I never eaten squirrels, so I really don't. I never eaten. Like, I remember one time I had chickens. Living chickens that you get eggs and stuff. And there was like a little rooster, a little black rooster. I named him Rocky, because he's like the toughest rooster. And of course I had ducks named Stewie and Dewey. I don't know why. They always harass the female hens. So anyway, so having those chickens, I looked at them and I realized I could not eat chicken. I really cared for them that much. I just was like, I can't eat chickens. So I became a vegetarian. And I just couldn't eat the chickens. I felt like it was cannibalism, because I'm eating something I really like. So, and we had to get rid of them because we were moving. We couldn't take the chickens with us. So my dad ended up giving them to. He ended up selling them to a guy who is a vegetarian, and he has a farm for animals and stuff. And he wanted to have more ducks. He had female ducks and he couldn't get male ducks. And my dad goes, "We got 2 right there who won't leave the hens alone." So, yeah. So it's kind of funny though. He was a butcher, which was weird. But he didn't like killing. He didn't kill animals, so he just sold meat, which is just kind of weird. I don't know why. It was just weird. So, anyway, this film was made in the area that I lived in. It was like a big deal. The local grocery store, everybody was talking about it, and talking about how cool it was and stuff. And I remember, like, one day I seen this actress who was in the film, and she looked familiar. I'm just like, I seen her somewhere. I just can't put my finger on it.